How you doing all? This is James Diboe hosting this show on Discover the New Things on Big Condo Radio. And we're here today. We got two special guests. We've got Janiece Myers and we got Albert.
Hello.
How you all doing?
I'm well,
Good.
bro.
Well,
Thanks for having us.
Good. Well, we got two musicians in, and they've both been involved in music for a long time. Plus, they've got a CIC together, and also they recognise the importance of African history from the positive perspective, which we will deal with near the end of the show. So we're going to start off with you, Janiece, first, yeah?
Okay.
And I'm interested in your timeline because I'm very aware that you've been into music for a long time. I remember when you were very young, 8, 9, probably maybe even younger, always singing, always had a good voice, and then you've just kept it going. And look where you are now. You've got so much talent. I've seen videos and different stuff you've done in that. So you want give us a little timeline of where this all begun?
All right. Thanks, James. Yeah, so I should say from being very young, just enjoying music, I started getting into it more when I was 12. I got a vocal coach called Fiona Holt, and she put me in touch with the community choir called One Heart, One Voice. So I was a part of the choir for 7 years. During that time, I started to build myself up as an artist, writing songs. I'd always wrote songs since I was very small, and then started recording them, and obviously the internet come in then, so I was able to use the internet to grow a fan base online, and then started releasing projects up until my early 20s, I would say. And then from there, I've just kind of continued to learn and grow as an artist, explore different art forms. So got into visual arts and painting and things like that. Studied theatre. I studied media for a while, and I've always studied dance as well, and I'm currently finishing my degree in dance.
Okay,
so
good.
It's been a bit of a journey.
Good. You sound like a long journey. You can tell us more about it, and I'm going to come to Albert now.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot about you. You know, you've been into music for a long time.
Yeah.
You've been influenced by grime, people like Dizzy Rascal and other artists and that. So do you want to start us with your timeline of how it begun now?
No, thanks again, James, for having me and Janiece.
Oh, of course.
On the show. I appreciate it, man. I'm humbled to be here.
Yes.
Music-wise, it started from when I was a young man, actually. I go by the name of Trebla, which is basically Albert backwards. So it's literally just like a twist on my name. So I've always had like a passion for language and literature from when I was a young person. And I've come from a very educated home.
Good.
So that's really kind of what gave me the grounding and like I said, the interest in language and just how we use words to actually describe how we feel, to relate to each other and things like that. And so match that with the fact that my dad actually was somebody who used to pride himself in his analog sound system in the house growing up and stuff like that. And he used to have music, reaching back to like the early 20s and 30s and stuff like that. So
wow,
music was kind of, in the home from a very young age for me. But when I went to school, I went to quite a prestigious school in East London. For those who are from East London, they will have heard of it. It's called St Bonaventures, or shortly St Bon's. You've had people like Tinchy Strider and D-Double. We've had a lot of people that have actually made an impact in the UK music industry actually attend that school. It's an all-boys school, and they do teach excellence at that school. So from a young age, whether it was music, whether it was football, and anything that you really wanted to do, it was always about pushing yourself and getting yourself involved. And from the age of 13 anyway, I was blessed to be around, at a time when garage was transitioning into grime. And, we did have influences, like you said, with Dizzy Rascal, people like Crazy Titch and Lethal Bizzle, and a lot of the people that have pioneered the grime scene. So I'm thankful to have been around at that time. And from the age of 13, so having a passion for it, getting myself into it, I've always wanted to basically push myself, but also push others around me. So from the age of 14, I remember watching, so this is like a year into music, I remember watching, back in the day, they were called DVDs, like with Lord of the Mics and Risky Roads. These are like grime street DVDs where you had like freestyles and just raw material from UK artists being exhibited on a platform like a DVD. So I remember having a gift from my mum, a VCR camcorder, and I just remember taking it around with me to like all parts of East London at the time, videoing my friends, videoing artists, you know, getting exclusive freestyles and interviews and behind the scenes footage. And I realized then the connection between music and film at a very young age. So not only was I an up and coming artist, I was also effectively working as a videographer as well.
Wow.
Yeah, from that age. And then I think it was the year after that I kind of had my first taste of bringing it all together, when I first started and saved up some money and invested in some equipment to start my own studio at the age of 15, which was in Canning Town. All of the local lads, literally everyone used to come to my mom's house, you know, for that studio, literally. And I just remember at the time we used to download instrumentals when the internet was quite raw at that time. So we used to download instrumentals or get instrumentals any way we could. But for those that have creative minds, it's all about how do you get your own, you know, how do you create your own? So I was very much one of those kind of people. I started producing at the age of 15. So imagine starting music at 13, going into videography, filming our music at 14, and then starting to produce music at 15. And I think now, you know, for the past 15 years, it's literally just been a culmination of that. I've now gone through a period of my life, going to university, studying economics. I kind of left the hood to get my life together and to create a career for myself. I worked in the corporate world for about 10 years. But about 3 years ago, my passion, during this time simultaneously, you know, my passion had never left me. I was still doing music, still active, but, you know, I was, again, from an academic home, and education was very important, and having that, you know, that fallback, you know, was very important for my mom and dad.
Well, we're going to come back to this anyway.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I'm a little older than you, so I'm raised on the 90s hip-hop music.
Come on.
Obviously, I've listened to music before that, but 90s hip-hop. So I'm raised on, you know, the Nas's, the Tupacs, the Biggies, the Mobb Deeps, and you could go on for there. But AZ.
Come on.
AZ's an underrated artist.
Come on.
Not Jay-Z, AZ.
Nah, I know what you're talking about.
No, some people like underrated artists. Cool G raps.
Yeah.
So when I got into the hip-hop, I had to go back to the 80s, because people saying, if you don't go back to the 80s, and then you could go back to the 70s if you want, but so I had to go back to Big Daddy Kane, to Cool G Raps, Scarface, and Slick Rick, and KRS-One. You done a song with Janiece. That was a powerful song, KRS-One. And I know you, a long time ago, you know, you and Ashley were close, and so he's always there. You know, you're like twins at one time. So, like, I remember, like, all the 90s and the R&B. Let's not forget the R&B. Foxy Brown, Little Kim's, and you could go on forever. So, who is your inspiration? Because I know you used to listen to a lot of the R&B and the hip-hop, and you're into the 90s as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, who was your influences when you were growing up?
Influences, as you say, R&B. So, I always remember at your mum's, there was Brownstone was on. Every time I think of Brownstone, I think of your mum, that album.
Classic.
And SWV, they were always on.
Whoa.
My sister used to love SWV, but she also loved like garage, and before that it was jungle. So I remember being very small, and there was always jungle and ragged on in the house. Funnily enough, TCR was always playing, so there was always a lot of ragga involved there. And I just remember the tunes from that kind of era, even like the early house stuff. A lot of the early Chicago house stuff. It's funny because I worked at Kitchen Street a couple of years ago, and we had an early 90s house night, and there was all these songs on there. I was singing the words to, but I didn't think I'd ever heard before. So I feel like that definitely had an influence on me. In terms of like your hip hop, I've always loved Nas, but that's because of you.
Oh yeah,
Because of Ashley.
Yeah.
But Ashley kind of through you educated me on Nas.
Yeah.
And the more modern day hip hop artists, I really love Kendrick Lamar. I think he's brilliant.
Okay.
I'm a fan of Kanye West just in terms of his creativity. Nicki Minaj as well. I'm a big fan of her just in terms of like her flow, her cadence, her delivery. I've always thought she was a sick artist. To be fair, me and Ashley always used to have. She'd be like Nicki Minaj. I'd be like Nicki Minaj. I think she's dope. Yeah, and then obviously like your Destiny's Child, Beyonce. All your big R&B singers like Mariah Carey, I've always been a big fan of her. So yeah, it goes across the board, really, across the spectrum.
So were you growing up influenced on any of these hip hop artists?
Definitely.
I mean, who were the sort of people like you were listening to from?
You know what? I'll be honest with you, James. Like some of the names you mentioned, like hit home for me. Definitely, I was definitely a Nas fan.
Oh,
growing
heavy.
up. You know, Illmatic, legendary. Do you know what I mean?
My favourite's "It Was Written."
Come on. You know what's crazy? That's actually my favourite song from him as well.
We have this mad debate. It's funny enough, like with me.
And his ether, like that ether.
Oh, ether, that killed Jay-Z.
Yeah,
it killed him.
Yeah,
it killed him. Sorry for Jay-Z fans, but that was a decapitation.
It's like one of the best, you know, deliveries.
Yeah.
Like you will ever hear from a rapper, man.
But a lot of people don't even know what ether means.
Exactly.
So when you know what ether means,
there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
People don't have to research that themselves.
That's right.
You know, so anyway,
that's it. But you know, I really loved some of the. I know sometimes the women in hip hop don't get enough of a mention, but you know, MC Lyte, Queen Latifah, like those are people that I actually listened to quite a bit when I was younger. And I really love them. You know, Salt and Pepper, like, you know, come on, like, but in regards to those that have really, really like made an impact for me, Tupac and the message that he has. Yeah, you know, and just the mindset like that he had, it was a pioneering one.
I always put them conscious. The conscious ones to me are always at the top.
Definitely.
Because they're the ones who are going to change lives.
Definitely.
You know, not just negativity.
I agree. And I know there's always been that big debate, Tupac or Biggie. And I love Biggie. Come on, he is still
the difference.
A great lyricist and a great, you know what I mean? But when it comes to like message, no man, I'm going straight to Tupac. Man.
I mean, Biggie is proper lyrical, but just as a smart guy like myself, I go with Tupac because Biggie's good lyrically.
Yeah, that's right.
But he can't educate me.
No, he can't.
He can't.
No.
Tupac can educate me.
That's
Nas can educate me.
That's right.
Rakims can educate me.
What?
KRS-One.
Come on.
So this is what I mean. But so it's down to your character also.
That's right.
But Biggie though, he makes some of the heaviest tunes.
Yeah,
I can't knock him for that.
He's still a standout artist. Of our generation. Well, of that generation anyway. But I mean, you actually mentioned Talib. You mentioned Talib Kweli?
Well, I forgot to mention, but that's a good name. That's a name.
That's like
heavy
Talib
name.
Kweli, Raekwon. Like,
Raekwon, what?
Bro, like when Janiece was like,
we're getting heavy now. We're getting
like,
heavy.
You know, we were going through like some of the questions that might pop up today in our meeting today, and I was thinking, I was stressing because like there's so many names like that have actually made a big impact in hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, and the culture of hip hop and why, you know, young kids want to put words together and make them rhyme, but then also, you know, poets want to come and, you know, deliver a message in a rhythmic way. Like there's people that have actually made a major big impact for me. DMX as well when it comes to hip hop.
Yeah.
Like I think he was one of my favorite. I used to have the DMX posters on the wall, you know, next to my Bob Marley and next to my Lauryn Hill. I had a DMX and I had a Tupac poster, man, like on the wall. And that was the thing back in the day. I don't think the kids nowadays would have posters on their walls. But
my favourite rappers all come from Queensbridge. The majority of them.
Come on.
You know, like the Queensbridge Finest album.
Yeah.
Or like Tragic Gaddafi. He's an underrated artist. Now, he was giving messages out like back in the 80s and stuff. But he didn't get recognised too much. You know, he didn't sell. He couldn't do what Tupac done.
Yeah.
Tupac just was able to do it a lot better.
Yeah.
And reach more people.
Yeah. Do you know about Immortal Technique?
He's now he's came later.
Yeah,
he's came later, but I give him a props. He's got the knowledge.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that similarity between, like you said, them underrated rappers.
Yeah,
who haven't really, you know, had their flowers yet.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I think Immortal Technique in these times is one of those.
So where we want to go with now is the highlight of this show. Everyone who comes on the show discover the new things, but it's about bringing in the positivity of real African history from a positive point, because all we ever did is like we enslaved or something negative, you know, the usual story, same story, but we need to bring in our story and tell our story. That's which is the main thing. That's why I'm doing this show. You know what I do anyway, Janiece. I visit indigenous peoples, tribes around the world and stuff, you know, so I've gained a lot of knowledge, and I see a lot of similarity from some of the old ancient people, very spiritual people, you know, what I've encountered around the world and that. And you definitely relate to some of these places I've gone. Like, I can imagine picture you both being there, you know, you've got that vision.
You've inspired me, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, definitely. Watch when soon I bring a slideshow out anyway, you know, at some point anyway. And so with this, I heard you got a CIC now. Well, we come back to that, but with the importance of African history, can you both give a little something brief on it, of the importance of the positive side, whether spirituality, whether it's great civilizations?
Yeah.
You don't mind?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, just discovering my own personal ancestry was very important, because it gave me a bigger sense of identity and purpose, and who I am, where I've come from.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So especially learning about the tribes, you know, my ancestry is Kru. So learning about the Kru tribe in Africa, you know, it made me...
From Liberia, is it?
Liberia, yeah. But the Kru tribe obviously is a lot older than Liberia itself.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because of the way it was, you know, set up and everything. But they were sea travellers, so they used to travel all over. A lot of Kru people came through Liverpool. They were known for being warriors back in the day, so they wouldn't settle for, you know, enslavement.
Yeah.
They'd either kill themselves, or they'd run away, or, do you know what I mean? Not many Kru people were ever caught.
The freed more death mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of gave me a sense of pride, to be honest, and and then learning again through the Caribbean ancestry, learning that we've got Yoruba ancestry through there and Yemeni ancestry. You know, it's interesting when you get to understand about these different places.
Right.
And I think on a spiritual level, you know, it helps you to kind of find a sense of peace. You know,
definitely.
Yeah, I think it's important to find that peace within yourself, because, you know, slavery is as much as we might want to look at the positive, we can't acknowledge the positive without understanding the impact and the ramifications that colonialism has had. Yeah. Because of the displacement of people. So in order for us to find that sense of peace, we have to make peace with that situation. I think that's really important.
That's it.
At the moment, I'm studying dance, and I'm doing African Caribbean dance at an organisation called IRI. They're delivering it as a degree course. Good. Down south. And it's the only facility that does African Caribbean dance as an official module. So one of our tutors, H. Patton, I think he's one of the only people in the world who's got a degree in dancehall. Wow. Which is quite cool. And there's another tutor called Nate who teaches the African side, and he's taught us about different dances, different movements that happened within West Africa. There's one in particular called the Pan Logo. So the Pan Logo was originally formed as the street dance. So it was people, you know, coming together to create these different dance moves. But then when colonialism happened, you know, the people would be expected to perform for the colonizers and the people that would come, and they would want to parade the women in a specific type of way. So a lot of the movements were to showcase the women and different things, but there's little movements that you'll find within the dances that they would do. So there's one in particular where it's kind of like the moves that, you know, the young people do today, because it's continued on. The Pan Logo, obviously it's passed down through the generations, but one of the original movements is like you do a movement and you point to the bottom of your foot and then you do it on each side. Now that was their way of kind of putting in a little subliminal message of like, you are beneath me. You know, so even though they're performing these dances, meanings to it. Yeah, there's always a little underlying meaning, and you'd often like use the left hand now, you know, in African culture to use your left hand. I know that one, yeah. Yeah, so it's like, You know, it's really interesting when you find these different things out, and just to see the spirit of the people and how, you know, people have taken such a negative and turned it into a positive.
Well, that's it. Take the negative, make it positive.
That's it. And
Definitely.
also, I think as well, to create and continue to create, because we have to understand that we are African history in this day now.
That's
so
it.
This, what we're doing now and where we continue to go, we're creating our history. So even what happened 2 weeks ago, what happened a year ago, and I think it's important for us to create a record, you know, and to always make sure that we, you know, acknowledge the achievements and recognize the things that are going on, and continue to create a path for the people in the future to look back and say, okay, well, this is what happened and this is how we maneuvered through these times. Yeah,
well, this is it. You know, this is why, I mean, I was taught from young, obviously, me Nigerian roots. So, you know, my dad's like, so I got taught from young, and I was happy I got taught, you know, when you're younger and you're getting it drilled into your head. But I'm happy I got it drilled in my head because it made me want to expand my research around the world. And also been to Africa, met the Maasai tribes, because I was always interested in ancient cultures. Plus as well, I met the Mandinkas, you know, where you watch the Roots tour, Kunta Kinte, got the ferry across. And it's about like seeing both sides of the story. We can listen to the story I was told here, but we need to also listen to the story back home. Now also, Albert, I understand your roots is from Ghana.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a place I definitely got to go to.
Come on.
You tell me about that, Ghana, you know, like...
You know what, it's crazy, James, because it's like, even for myself, I speak Twi, so I can actually speak my native tongue.
Okay.
But I've actually, you know, never been to Ghana, and that's only because my parents were graceful enough to, you know, speak the language to me at a young age, and I've just got that kind of mind. I'm a quick learner.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I can speak to the elders and my family members that are from Ghana. I can speak to them in the native tongue. And just that sense of identity, as Janiece said, like, you know, that's something that is very, you can find that within language, actually. You know, if you're not speaking your native tongue today, it's because of, you know, the after effects of colonialism.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't realize that you can't know where you're going until you actually know where you've come from.
Definitely.
You know, and something as small as not having knowledge of your native tongue, due to the fact that you don't have knowledge of your past, you know, can be it's literally one of many results of colonialism. Not only your language, but, you know, what you see of yourself when you look in the mirror. You know, I'm born and bred here in London, in the UK, and for a lot of young black men, they might think, okay, I'm a young Englishman, but, you know, that may not have been the case, you know, had, you know, the world's events had not transpired in the way that they did. So it's important to look and find exactly where you're from. It's important to understand your past and your history. And, you know, it's funny because a lot of the time we speak about slavery as if that was the inception or the beginning of us, our black history. And it's
hundreds of thousands of years we exist before then, done many great things.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, there's so many astounding things that we can find in our history, but all that's prevalent in many minds today is where, you know, we're born off slaves. And when you look at headlines today and newspapers and media today, we're you know, portrayed as criminals, or there's all these negative connotations to what being black is, what being black isn't. And I think until we make that decision to actually go and seek and to find and to reveal, you know, our own truth for ourselves, you know, it will never fix itself.
We've got to be the teachers of this.
That's right, exactly.
You know, other people, don't get me wrong, many the different researchers, I mean, whether there's even Greeks researchers like Herodotus, and he was a Greek, and he told the truth about African history. You know, he was talking about African, like talking about, because he's called it Ethiopia, and then he was talking about another Ethiopian meaning in India, because Ethiopians were there at the time, Cushites, that's what they were called. So in their own texts from way back, before the Greeks actually conquered Egypt, they were talking about all these great things Africans did, and it's not until they get their foot in the door and then they're going to wipe the history out and stuff. But and I'm interested to know also about the CIC that you've both got going. What's the name of it again? Sorry.
So it's called. Well, I'll let you speak.
DVLP.
Yeah.
So it stands for Developer and Vision, Learning and Potential. So it's just about, obviously, Alb and I, we've got skills in different areas. So we want to share those skills with them. We've both worked in youth work in the youth sector, and we've both taught before. So we thought it makes sense for us to kind of just share the skills that we've got and expanding it. So looking at different areas. So like you yourself, you've got Culturolution.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking at ways that we can work with different organisations to create curriculums and to teach.
Yeah.
You know, teach the youth, teach people who are older who want to learn. So that's basically what we've been working on for the past, say, year.
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
Yeah. And we just have a passion for people.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what the purpose of DVLP is, you know, is to develop vision, learning, potential. But, you know, I believe each of us have a vision, and sometimes that vision might not be clear, and you just need an opportunity to be in an environment where you can develop that vision, you know, develop that sense of, you know, where do I want to be? You know, as a young person today, a lot of them are lost, or they're being influenced in so many different ways, you know, but what is it that you want for your life? And, you know, are there people who can support you in actually achieving those things? And sometimes it might mean learning a new skill. It might mean researching. It might mean, you know, actually just asking for support as well. You know, if you already have something, you already have a skill, and you have an idea of something that you want to achieve, you know, whether it's in a creative industry, whether it's in academia, in history, it could be anything.
Utilize your skills.
That's right, exactly. Utilize.
But it's a good combination though, because you've both got long history and passion in what you're doing, and that's what people need. I mean, sometimes you can get someone started singing yesterday and they think they're the star. I'm not with that, me. I like the passion and the longevity. That's what's really about in that. But I'm happy that you've come on the show though. You know, being a longer wait, isn't it?
Definitely.
I understand you're coming from London, so it's not like round the corner, is it? No. What would you say, Janiece, about moving into London? The differences and the opportunities in London from Liverpool?
That's exactly it, opportunity.
Well, that's the word, is it?
Yeah, there's so much going on there. I mean, obviously with all this lockdown and things, but usually and generally there's a lot going on. So anything you're interested in, anything you want to do in London, you'll find something there to do. Whereas in Liverpool, you might wait a good 6 months to find an event in a specific area, unless you try and put it on yourself. And the key word there being try, because it's not always possible. You know, especially with music, especially with black music, a lot of the time licenses will restrict you from certain things. So it's getting a lot better, and we've got venues now, places like Kitchen Street, where they do allow for more things. But generally in the main areas, it's a bit difficult. So I'd just say again, more opportunity. It's a little bit more open-minded as well, in terms of, you know, people are willing to try different things and explore, I would say. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do think that Liverpool's got a lot of potential still to grow, and I do think it's getting better. It's always evolving. It's becoming a lot more of a cosmopolitan city because of things like the university and things like gentrification. You know, gentrification, we can look at it in two ways. It's bringing more opportunity, or it's taken away from the areas. So there's a lot of areas in London that have been gentrified or in the process of being gentrified. So it's about looking at those areas and what the positives and negatives are, and what's happened within those areas, and kind of trying to take from that. For example, places like Shoreditch. You know, Shoreditch started out as a very arty area. You know, back and before then it was the ends, wasn't it? Yeah, Shoreditch was like the hood. Then people moved in. It became a lot more arty. The house prices and everything went up. But out of that, you got this really interesting sense of culture and a mixture of people. So I think as long as, sorry to go off on a tangent about gentrification, but as long as councils look after local people, and gentrification can be a good thing because it provides more opportunities, and I can definitely see it happening here in Liverpool, especially in areas like Toxteth because of the proximity to the city centre, transport links, and just it's a really nice area. You've got lots of lovely parks, so I think that's something that we need to keep an eye out for going forward, definitely, and just make sure that we utilise the opportunities where they come, but also make sure that local people are looked after as well. That's really important. Okay.
Well, we're coming closer. Well, we are near the end of the show anyway. And I want to thank you both for coming on. And hopefully I'll be working with you on something in the future anyway. And, you know, this is James Diboe on Discovering on Big Condo Radio, discovering new things. And we always have new guests on. So I want to thank you both anyway. A pleasure.
Thank you, James.
Respect.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.